Hi everyone, and Happy New Year to you all. Last year was such a great year for photography. I can't believe it. The thing is, I didn't even go out of Cornwall. It's incredible, I know, but I just stayed in Cornwall, and it's such an amazing place that my top 10 landscape photographs of 2024 are all of Cornwall, but that's probably because I didn't go anywhere else, but it's such a beautiful place. The first shot I did was of St Michael's Mount, and now this was a dawn start in January. Fairly easy, isn't it, to get up in January, so no excuses for not doing it, he said, saying that to remind himself to get up tomorrow morning and get out there. And this was just so beautiful. I got to St Michael's Mount on the beach, set up at dawn, and took a few dawn photos, but they weren't as good as the ones that were near sunrise. So the ones near sunrise were much better. And this shot, I remember getting quite emotional over it at the time because I was so, I was just in a great space. I think, objectively, it's a good photograph, but once you've got the what it means to you added to that, it suddenly becomes a great photograph. So to me, because I can remember being there so well, it's a great photograph for me. And it's important, I think, that the sun wasn't showing in the sky, so there's just a bit of glow coming from behind the headland of Marazion. But the fact that it's lit up those clouds with that pink glow, that was what I wanted. So, and I just love orange, pink and blue in the same picture. For me, those colours work so well together. So I really like this one. And I can remember the incredible amount of birds there were around St Michael's Mount. There were all these gannets diving in to catch sardines. Yeah, a good image to start the year with. The amount of times I've been to Godrevy Lighthouse, well, so many times, because it's only about 45 minutes from my house. So I've been there a lot because it's such a great location. And I think to myself sometimes, don't go back there. What else can you possibly take? And on this day, I remember having that kind of attitude. But I went there because I wanted to do a vlog, and the sea, the swell, it was just incredible. And I managed to get this magnificent wave crashing on this rock with the lighthouse in the distance. And the power of this image, I don't know, you can just feel it, can't you? It's got so much energy, the sea, and it's so much, it's just, yeah. So this image is one of my best ever images of Godrevy Lighthouse. Definitely loved it. And I will keep going back there because you know what I always say about going back to a location? Well, I'm sure it's got more to offer, so I'll be going back again this year. This image may surprise some of you because although I absolutely love it, I can see why some people would just think meh, or, it's okay, but where's the subject kind of thing. It would be nothing without that blue streak in the sea. But also I think the very important element is the shape of the cloud on the third line, the 2/3 across line. The shape of that cloud there just balances out the images nicely with the blue of the sea, and that is what really makes the image for me. And I also remember the fact that it wasn't looking good. The weather was poor. I forced myself to go out, and well, in between showers I got this shot. So, and I'm going to do more of this kind of photography in 2025 for sure. I've made a few New Year's resolutions. One of them is to do more handheld photography. Now this image is from Porthcothan, which is not far from, well, it's kind of in between Newquay and Padstow. And this is from my Finding Bliss in Landscape Photography video. And it was taken in March, and I just had such an amazing day, when everything just goes right and the world disappears and it's just you and the landscape and your camera, and just loving taking it all in. And I just think this image encapsulates the whole of that day for me. Again, the sun isn't showing, it's just a glow coming from behind the rocks. And I also took care to do a focus stack because I really liked these small stones in the foreground, which have lines leading back where the wave has created a line from the stone back towards the sea. And they are glowing as well. And it would have worked if I hadn't focus stacked, but I'm so glad I did. So the foreground is pin sharp and so is the background. And this was a day of bliss. There's nothing more to say. It's just fantastic. I'm going to keep going back to this location. In about a month, the sun starts lining up again like it did here, and I'm going to try and get an even better shot than this. But this will always stay in my memory as a fantastic day, a fantastic end to an amazing day. This next image is from my extreme depth of field video, and I just love it. This is, if there's a style of mine that I really like, it's the getting really down so close to the foreground and getting everything as sharp as possible. This image is an unusual one for me. I mean, it's not ideal because I'm looking at the back of the engine house, which is not my favourite place, but I just love the extreme depth of field. So I was so close to these foreground sea pinks. I still think it's a great image. It's definitely quite a nice balanced composition because although the left-hand side dominates the entire image, the right-hand side just gives you a sense of depth, and that's what I love in images. I always look for depth if I can find it. So I love things that are sharp in the foreground and they lead you off into a distant view in the background. This is another image from May. May is definitely my favourite month. It's a great time of year because everything's warming up. There are lots of nice spring flowers and there's still some drama in the sky. It's not too hot. Get some fantastic days. And I really like this shot. Another extreme depth of field image. Yeah, it's really good. The one thing that I'm not too keen on is the fact that the headland has been pushed a bit far back and the sun's a bit small. Now there is a way of fixing that called perspective blending, which I'm going to go into in another video. So it's a slightly controversial thing because basically you take one image at perhaps 50mm focal length, which is roughly what the human eyes see at, roughly how far everything is away from the human eye, our vision. And then another shot obviously focused on the close foreground, but which would be at a wide angle. And then you combine those two pictures. So it's kind of cheating, but you're really just, if you were here looking at this scene now, the headland would be much closer to you. So you could, I think it's one of those things that I'm going to do a bit of this year and just see if I really like it or not, or whether I just feel like it's cheating because, well, my friend says that when I'm doing focus stacking, that's cheating and it's not real photography. But to me, I think, you know, if I was here at this scene, I would look down at the sea pinks and they would be sharp. Then I would look up at the headland and the sunset and they would be sharp. Now, admittedly, what you can't see is, of course, is when you're looking at the headland, this is just not through the camera, this is just looking. When you're looking at the headland, the sea pinks have actually gone soft. So it's only until you actually focus on them with your eyes, they actually become sharp. So in a way, my friend is right, but I think, you know, for an image like this, if these sea pinks were soft in the foreground, for me, it just wouldn't work. So I just love this kind of shot, and it's another shot which has great colour because it's got orange, pink and blue. Yes, please. For this shot I planned everything as I quite often do, so that the light would be coming from the side, so that there would be some dramatic lighting on the headland, which is then ahead. This shot is great because it's got a great bit of timing, so the tide is just right so that you can see some sand, because I think that's important in an image. We've got the sun's high enough that you get the blue, aqua blue in that sea, because it's such a beautiful clear sea there. And I think it's an excellent image that is slightly marred by the foreground. I would prefer a better foreground, so I don't know if I could have got down lower onto some of the bracken that you can see in the bottom right of the frame. I think I could have tried that, but that would it might dominate the frame too much with brown, and I'm not too sure about that, because obviously where you put all the colours in your image is a very important of the composition, a very important part of the composition. So although it's not my ideal foreground, it's still a winning shot, because I've been there lots of times and I've never seen it looking this good. So back at Godrevy Lighthouse again, I said earlier in this video about what a great location it is. I did time the tide so that the tide was out and there'd be some reflection of the lighthouse. And all these gulls were swooping down and standing in the waves, near the waves on the shoreline. And it's just, well, I had the fortuitous event whereby I had my camera set up for shallow focus. And because of that, which I probably wouldn't have done normally, I'd have probably been trying to get everything sharp. But because of that, I managed to capture these gulls in mid-flight with a slightly soft, but that's fine, Godrevy Lighthouse in the background. So this was during my shallow focus landscape photography video. And I saw the dog coming and I thought, don't chase the gulls away, I'm taking photos of them. But of course, when it chased them away, I got this really good image, which is, I think I called it a 9 out of 10 at the time. Yeah, it might be a 9.5. Give yourself a break, Tony. I just love it. What I love about it is so often my images have no life in them, you know. It's a still image of a landscape, which is beautiful, yeah, great. But when you add some wildlife into the image, it really brings the image to life. And I absolutely love seagulls in my images. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, if the light had been a bit better and, you know, there'd been more dramatic clouds behind it, it would have been a 10. But it's still a great image and I'm really pleased with it. And I'm so pleased that doing the vlog is what forced me to go out and do it. So, yeah, thanks to you people watching my videos, I got this image. I don't think I'd have been out there otherwise. Oh, the light, the light. Oh, this is the Cow and Calf, which are off St Agnes in Cornwall. And Godrevy Lighthouse is just about visible in the distance. And I'd seen this image perhaps a year or maybe even 2 years before and thought that could make a good image. And I finally got round to going back and getting it. And it all came together even better than I'd planned. So this image is very meaningful to me because I planned it, I got there, got the perfect conditions, and of course I'll be going back again to see if I can even better it. Perhaps what could I do? I don't know, get some gulls flying in the foreground or something. And no, I'm not going to add any gulls to my images. Now there are people online, there's some YouTube photographers who are really famous, much more famous than me. And yeah, one guy, now admittedly he did own up to it, but his name's Photo Tripper. He's a good photographer, and he's based in Canada. I think he's from up north England, but yeah, one of his best images, I thought, wow, that is incredible. But then he admitted that he'd added the gulls later. And in a future video, I want to talk about truth in photography, especially now AI is amongst us and is going to take a lot of my work away, and other photographers' work as well. I don't think it's a real threat, because I think that real photography will have its place. But where do you draw the line? You know, what's your truth in photography? So people ask me this question, and I'm happy to remove birds because sometimes they look like a little spot in the sky, and I think, well, if I sold a I don't know, 18-inch print of that, 50 centimeters or whatever, then it's just going to look like there's a spot on the print and I haven't, you know, sorted that out properly. So I do remove birds sometimes from my images, unless they look really good, you know, like the flying M sort of shape. But adding things to your images, I don't think is right. Where do you stand on this truth? Because I'm going to make a video about it in the future. Last but not least, this fabulous wave at Kynance Cove. What can I say? It's brilliant. I set the camera up taking a thousandth of a second, so I knew I could capture the motion, and I was on quick burst mode so I could get several shots, and I love this image. I've caught the wave perfectly, and there's that turquoisey kind of aqua glow coming through the wave, which I think is absolutely beautiful. Thank you all so much for your support in 2024. It really is appreciated, and I hope 2025 brings us all some even better landscape photographs. Bye for now.